grateful to have been invited to the inaugural E.A.T series event.
I believe so much that nobody is so good in knowledge, but when you have a team of people, you have a lot of experiences and you know that you have built up your knowledge.
I think that there's a lot of untapped potential here in the Nigerian agricultural sector. I believe that a lot more young people are going to have to move into it. I think they're going to need the support of the private and public sector.
Bridging the gap between generations, getting real players in the sector who are doing real work, to have real airtime and real face time.
Half of the time, the solutions that we're proposing, even if they're localized, fail to meet the actual needs of those on the ground.
I also don't agree with looking at the past and saying, okay, there was the ground-up pyramids or there was palm oil production. It's too late. We can't compete with the Malaysians. We can't compete with the peanut farmers in the US. So by really focusing on what grows well here, doing it well, and then making sure that it's acceptable to the international markets, it could help. I rarely wear a watch. Yeah, I like to wear comfortable boots, yeah, and a baseball cap, and spend my time in the farm. And really, to succeed in agriculture, to succeed in the agricultural sector, especially when you have to go out to these remote areas, you have to be ready and revel in that discomfort. You have to really be ready to go outside of what most people's comfort zone is and face the danger, face the discomforts. I know it's not possible for everybody. I know it's not. And that's one of the big issues I see here is a lot of the young people who are trying to work into the agricultural sector, they're looking at tech solutions. I don't think tech solutions are the see-all, end-all. I mean, but I'm also somebody that never even had Facebook. So my understanding of technology, maybe when it comes to these things, is limited. I've seen many companies come in, yeah, and maybe with the best of intentions, and their idea is to set up electronic-based platforms for large-scale aggregation of output from farmers. But that brings me to another problem. When you are making the supply chain more efficient, but not taking into account, such as Mo pointed out, the substandard inputs that are going to the farmers, substandard seed, substandard fertilizers, substandard agricultural chemicals. I mean, one of the big things that I've seen is super pests. There's actually starting to be generations, there's going to be generations of super pests here in Nigeria because of adulterated agrochemicals. When you have an agrochemical, it's only half the labeled quantity of the active ingredient, you end up with pests that become immune to those chemicals. Now me, I'm very lucky because as an organic certified farmer, I'm only able to use a very limited amount of, let's say, organic certified pesticides, which have not yet been introduced into Nigeria. Things like beneficial fungi, beneficial bacteria. The pests here have never seen these things before and are thus susceptible. But when you're spraying, as Kobe said earlier, people putting sniper chemicals like that on their grains, if it's being misused to that level, yeah, very soon we're going to see highly resistant insects and pests attacking our crops. I guess it would be simple for me to now say, okay, so the way forward is for everybody to go into organic agriculture, and then we won't have that problem, but that's not the case. That's not the case anywhere in the world. There's going to have to be a mixture of both conventional, organic, subsistence, and commercial farming. Yeah, and it's going to take generations for these things to happen. I feel like our generation here in Nigeria is going the right way in some fields and going the completely wrong way in others. One thing I can say is that the development of rice production in Nigeria has been one thing that I've seen over the past decade really advance the Nigerian agricultural economy and makes sense. But I also don't agree with looking at the past and saying, okay, there was the ground-up pyramids or there was palm oil production. It's too late. We can't compete with the Malaysians. We can't compete with the peanut farmers in the US. So I've always thought that looking for ways to offset that trade deficit with bringing in all these materials for our food stuff, for our daily consumption, offset that by really focusing on what grows well here, doing it well, and then making sure that it's acceptable to the international markets. It could help. But like I said, I don't have the solutions. I can only talk about what I've seen, what I know. Another very important point that was discussed earlier was the value addition and the post-harvest handling of products here. One of my main products is tiger nut. I supply tiger nut to major markets in the US, in the EU. Everybody here is familiar with tiger nut. It's a dry product. It should be relatively easy to handle. But that's not the case, even with a dry product. Sometimes I even have issues with my containers when they finally reach their destination because it's spent weeks and weeks or months and months at the port, and then an additional weeks and weeks, months and months on the high seas. You end up getting a container of weevil-infested flour. These are major, major challenges. That's for somebody who does have a lot of resources at their disposal. And so when I think about the subsistence farmers out there in the bush, it seems like everything would be hopeless, but it's not. It's not. It's just about figuring out what the paradigm shift needs to be and then sticking with that. Every year, in developing countries, it's around 400 to 500 kg of food per person are produced per annum. In the Western world, it's closer to 1 metric ton, but that's around 1.5 times the amount of food required globally. There's a lot of wastage. Now, a scary number, a really scary number, is that every year, for every one person on Earth, 10 metric tons of topsoil is eroded every year. That's gone. We don't get that back. When we talk about conservation, when we talk about sustainability, when we talk about agricultural development, we have to take the environment into account. Yeah? We can't grow crops efficiently. We can't grow quality produce. We can't feed ourselves if we don't start protecting the environment. Now, I don't like the politics of climate change or environmental protection. I'm just talking about it as a farmer, as somebody who loves nature, loves spending time outside, and sees what's happening. It is a big, big risk, and we can't move forward in agriculture until we start recognizing that. When you talk about the livestock, the herder-farmer conflicts, right? This is a result of desertification. This is a result of eroding topsoils. The solutions, they are complicated, and they are not short to medium term, they're medium to long term. And the problem with that, as Mo spoke about earlier, is when you look at agriculture and the amount of time you have to invest to start seeing a profit, it scares people away. Yeah, I've spent most of the past decade terrified, that my business is not going to work because it seems like a farm is just a hole in the ground you start throwing money into and you never see anything out of. It's just recently that I really started enjoying my business, and I'm talking about in terms of profitability. If we don't look at agriculture and environment as a holistic system, that's going to take a holistic approach, we're never going to get anywhere. And that's not just here in Nigeria; it's all over the world. Unfortunately, we're also suffering the consequences of advanced economies, wasteful advanced economies, wasteful agricultural practices. Unsustainable agricultural practices, poisoning our soils with the wrong types of fertilizers, with the wrong types of agrochemicals. These are serious, serious issues. But in Nigeria, one thing I do feel very, very good about is we still have a bit of a blank canvas to build up our agricultural future on, which is rare in this day and age to have this kind of landmass, with this amount of water, with this amount of labor, that we can start something, that we can build the fundaments that would create a sustainable agricultural future for the country, for the region, possibly the continent, and the world. So I am ever hopeful. And that's basically it. I'd like to thank everybody for listening to our discussions about this. There's a lot. I have so many points I'd like to make, but sometimes I just, freestyle on it. I actually didn't touch on any of the points I wanted to discuss today. But that's all right. I hope we'll have many more of these discussions and meetings to talk about the way forward in agriculture. So once again, thank you everybody very much.